Om. 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 Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Yapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vedya Dravinam Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Yata sarvani bhutani pratibhanti stithani cha yatraivo pashamam yanti tasmai satyatmane namaha. So where are we in our text?
We're in chapter 25, verse number 53, and that's on page 267.
Do you have enough light?
Yes.
So to review what's happening, Chudala and Sikidvaja are a king and a queen, and they really love each other, and they've grown old together. And in their old age, they've decided to pursue knowledge. And Sikidvaja kind of gets stuck doing ritual. He tells wifey, "You run the kingdom, I'm going off to the forest to do ritual." She investigates the nature of the self, has a deep realization, and then spontaneously the desire to acquire siddhis arises in her. So she then pursues the practice of pranayama, kriyas, to master the essence of Raja Yoga, to acquire siddhis. And we had a long section the past couple weeks about the benefits of this. And again, Yoga Vasishtha stresses both paths are perfectly valid. With this caveat, the path of Raja Yoga is ineffective without vairagya. You can do all these practices and have all these fantastic experiences, but if you come out of the practice, the meditations, and go into the world, and you're still essentially a bogey, I want this, I don't want that, they done this to me, they didn't do this for me, then you have no steady wisdom. The trap for the jnana yogi is we mistake paroksha jnanam for aparoksha jnanam. I've read all the books. Do you meditate? No. But I've read all the books. And I watch Punjaji on YouTube. I have these moments of insight. but I don't meditate. Shravana, Mananam, Nididhyasana. This is Vedantic practice. Shravana. I hear the teaching from the Guru and, of course, from the scriptures. Mananam, I think about it because it implies a way of life that is completely antithetical to worldly values. And then Nididhyasana, long and continuous meditation of the self. All right, let's go.
It's verse 53, right, Mark?
Yes, verse 53.
Okay, so this is a new section. Upadesha Prayojanam, the need for instruction. Vivid Naiva Raja tu Tamevam Gunashalina Nim Bahusho Bodhyamanyopi Taya Raja na Buddhavan. But the king did not know her at all as endowed with such merit. Though taught repeatedly by her, the king did not understand.
Yes. So she's trying to help him out. Now, I'm sure you don't have a husband who mansplains to you. You ever had that?
No, I don't. It's the other way around in my house.
What's mansplaining?
A woman is not smart enough, so a man has to explain everything to her.
Yeah. Oh, you probably know women who live in
And I
relationships.
certainly know men who do that. Not
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the problem here, and it's funny, it's meant to be funny. Sikidvaja can't learn from his wife. It's quite sad, even though she explains it to him with patiently over and over and over again. And in other scriptures, there'll be kids who can't hear it from their fathers.
Mm.
They're probably 14. Any of you had a 14-year-old relative? Yes, no?
Yes,
What happens to their parents' IQs when they turn 14?
they drop.
Yes, parents' IQs drop 20 points when a child turns 14. They don't come up again until the kid's about 22. Then when they get married and have children, their parents are geniuses. Mama, what do I do in this? So this is humor. So Sikadvaja is not able to hear the truth from Chudala. Going on.
Can I ask a question about
Sure.
hearing the truth? Because there can be an acknowledgement of the possibility of the truth without necessarily knowing it completely. But that's still an opening.
So let me give you my real life experience. So I can be in a class. It has nothing to do with age or whether people are Indian or white, whether they're male or they're female. And we can, what I call, work the knowledge. We do subject-object discrimination. We turn people's attention back on their own self-nature. And I can feel it. This one's getting it, that one's getting it, that one's getting it, that one might like a break.
Interesting. Yeah.
And then I'll get a question, should I be a vegetarian?
Yeah.
Or, what about, the mind won't drop.
Yeah.
Is that making sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so that they cannot receive the teaching in its fullness yet.
Got it. Okay. That makes perfect sense.
No blame.
Yeah.
It's because their minds are not sattvic enough. They do not yet have chitta shuddhi. So you're a living example, if you mind me being
Not at all.
personal.
Yeah.
When you first came,
My mind is like a brick.
well, you were open
Yeah.
and you listened, and then COVID came around and you did your non-dual groups and things
Right.
like that. Then you have returned, and all of a sudden now your mind drops.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And you understand this.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's never had trouble.
My mind is also like a brick.
Not at
And
all.
occasionally goes.
Not at all.
Mhm.
Not at all. All right, going on.
Upadesha kramo rama vyavastha matra palanam nyaptestu karanam shuddha shishya pranaiva kevalam. Rama, the method or act of teaching, is the protecting or quartering of only the settled law in spiritual life.
The settled law,
Settled law,
lore or law?
law, LAW.
Okay. So the idea here,
One more.
okay.
The cause of knowledge is only the pure intelligence of the disciple.
Yes. So what is the physical guru? Sometimes I'll use the definition, what's my job? Well, I'm a holder of the Dharma. I'm a Dharma holder. I'm a spiritual library. And depending on what the student needs, I go through the card catalog and I go, Viveka, yep. Shama Dhamma, Uparati. You know, I'm a holder of the teaching, trying to make sure that I am able to give the student a teaching that's useful for them. But the locus of the power, the work, is with the student. We get these words, Purushanta, Aurusha, our own self effort. Now, part of that is our Shraddha. So if you go back, pulling out the card of Shraddha. What is Shraddha?
Faith.
Faith. But in Sanskrit, or at least according to Shankara, it has a little bit more than it does in English. Shankara will say that it is by this means that the truth is made known to the student. So you have to have faith that the scriptures are telling the truth. You have to have faith that the teacher is giving you the real stuff. It's one of the reasons I teach by the book. You know, why should I make up my own yoga? This stuff is really powerful. But part of it is it's so you know you're getting the real stuff. You're not getting my good ideas. But there comes a time in a student's unfoldment when they have the capacity to just empty out and tune up. Because in the end, the real teaching is done in silence. So your capacity to surrender and attune to the mind of the teacher is also your Shraddha. That's part of it. Now, when I was with Swamiji, oh God, he's so powerful. He just got me blasted. It only would happen when I was around him. And then he would say, use the guru, tune into me wherever I am in the world. So I'd be at home in San Francisco and I'd just think of him and what would it be like if he were right there. And oh, my mind would. Then after a while, it had nothing to do with the words. I knew what he was going to say before he said it. But I wanted to be with him and revel in that thunder of silence that was always there beneath his words. And eventually I realized it was a trick. That was the tasting of my own self-nature. He tricked me. What a trick. But it's the student who has to be ready for that. All right, next verse.
Sri Rama Vacha Evam Sthite Mune Bruhi Katham Etata Jagatis Tathai Kramo Guru Pade Shakhyam Swatma Nya Nasya Karanam. Say, Sri Rama said, Sage, when it is so, tell me how, in such a situation, in this world, the method called the instruction of the Guru becomes the cause of one's knowledge of the self.
So, how is it that things are have the, do you want some water, sweetheart? Are auspicious, the right gestalts, so that the pramana, the means of knowledge, takes place. And the vision of the teacher is transmitted to the student. How does it happen? Next verse.
Vasishtha Vacha Atyai Nata Krupanna Kashti Pitatam Vindhyaya Jwalam Ekam Karotikam Praptam Sarvai Trina Tushadikam. Vasishtha said, oh, wait, there's more. Sorry. Dinatrayam Dudhavata Chintamani Avin Tathai Evam Karotika Navishtam Ratram Laptam Akhodina. Vasishtha said, an extremely poor person removed and searched all the grass, chaff, and the like for 3 days to obtain one shell that had fallen into the forest of the Vindhya mountain. Then he discovered the Chintamani, a precious gem. Thus, on account of search for a shell, a gem was obtained by one without dejection of spirits.
So the point is, none of us come to the teaching, come to the Guru with pure motives. I want my life to be better. I want to stop suffering. I want to get along better with my spouse. I want to give up this fear, mostly fear of money or fear of death, I want to be able to not be racked by the politics. I'm so tired of acting like a jerk around other people. Does this sound familiar? It's okay. This is like the fellow looking for the shell. But what does the Vedanta give you? What does self-realization give you? Literally nothing. It's not going to make you rich. You won't lose 20 pounds. Won't fix the politics. But you get the Chintamani, the wish-fulfilling gem. That's not like the Aladdin lamp where the genie gets you what you want. When you get what you want, how will you feel? Happy. Let's go straight for the happiness, for the peace of mind. That's the Chintamani. I was watching a YouTube video of this fellow who comes to Ramana Maharshi, and he was dressed in a business suit, and there's Bhagawan in his diaper. And fellow is going blah 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 blah. And I've studied this, and I've learned Sanskrit, and I've achieved this, and I know these scriptures, and I've had this spiritual experience, and I've had that spiritual experience, and I've done yada 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 yada. Yada. I read this scripture and that scripture. Bhagawan says nothing. Finally, the fellow runs out of steam. He stops talking. And he enters into silence. And he enters into Bhagawan. Bhagawan never said a word, but there was full transmission. Next verse.
तथा श्रुतोपदेशेन स्वात्मज्ञानम् अवाप्तये तत्त्वा स्वयास्वमहार्थस्य प्राप्तौ याथ्यापि कारणं न गुरो कथनं शास्त्र तथापि कारणं क्रमात् चिन्तामणिः सम्प्राप्तौ यथा हेतुकरोटिका. So also, knowledge of oneself is obtained through the teaching that is heard from a spiritual preceptor. Though the Guru's communication is not directly the cause of the acquisition of the deep significance of this true principle, even then it is the cause gradually, as, for instance, the shell was the cause of the acquisition of the gem Chintamani.
Yes. So if the fellow hadn't been looking for the shell, he wouldn't have found the gem. Likewise, the verbal teaching of the Guru is not in, though it leads to it. We call our work the silent way, but Jim never shuts up. But when we have the moments of the thunder of science, Chidananda Rupaham, Shivoham, Shivoham. My nature is bliss consciousness. I am Shiva. I am auspiciousness. And in that state, even the thought I am Brahman is gone. Everything's gone. Next verse.
The last part. Iti Shri Vasishtha Sangrahe Chudala Prabhavo Nama Panchavanshi Sargaha. Thus ends the 25th chapter titled The Glory of Chudala in the abridgment of the Vasishtha.
But the story isn't over. Let's go on.
Oh no, it's the next chapter now.
That's what I mean.
Oh,
But the next chapter continues the story, I think.
um, chapter 26. Shikidvaja Jatapam, the penance of Shikidvaja.
Yep, there it is. He's the king.
Kana Vasam, the dwelling in the forest. Vasishtha Uvacha Raja Mana Nahi Nastu Dukkena Pidito Prushma Dadau Atitaram Danam Tirthayatram Chakaracha. The king, Shikidwaja, bereft of the knowledge of the self and very much oppressed by sorrow, gave away gifts exceedingly and undertook a pilgrimage.
So he does these external things that the scriptures suggest that we do. Are they wrong? Should we not do them? When we, for example, listen to the teaching of Ramana Maharshi or Nisargadatta Maharaj, we can get the thought, I don't need to do any sadhana. In the end, it's pointless. It is, and it isn't. Pilgrimage, ritual, chanting the name of the Lord, good works, charity, help to purify the mind. You know, my old-timey image of slicing a tomato. You need a sharp knife to slice the tomato. These things are knife sharpening. But knife sharpening in and of itself does not slice the tomato. Likewise, Shikidvaja goes out to the forest. He's going to worship the Lord with flowers. He's renounced the world, but very attached. I'm a spiritual person. That's another one of ego's last disguises. The ego state of the yogi, the ego state of the mumukshu, the seeker after liberation. Some people never give it up. They never give up being a dumb seeker. Oh, Jim, it's just the journey. There's no real destination. No! There is an end to suffering. but Sikibhaja not pure enough yet. So he goes out to the forest to do ritual, which will make him feel somewhat better. It will help him discard his concerns for worldly life. But his happiness will be dependent on his puja. And it doesn't have to be that. It can be daily Eucharist. It can be Stations of the Cross, going to Mass on Sundays, singing in the choir. Nothing wrong with those things. But they themselves do not bestow wisdom. Any questions about this? Going on.
Tapam tapa drikam chakre latu labdho vishokata chudalam ekada bhupam troche madhurya madhuraya gira. He performed penance like bodily mortification, but freedom from sorrow was not obtained. Once the king told Chudala in sweet words as follows.
So one of the things that I think is so funny, he says, I'm going to go off to the forest to do penance. I'm going to dump all the responsibility onto you. You not only have to do your queen job, but you got to do the king job too. She's a woman of steady wisdom. What concern have I? So he's out there in the forest doing all this spiritual struggling and finding no peace yet. And many of us get stuck there for years and years and years. I'm meditating 8 hours a day, and I chant the Lord, my mantra 1,008 times. I've become a breatharian. I only eat radish threads on Fridays. I'm down to 90 pounds. All this penance, mortification of the flesh. That is like the problem of the snake and the rope. And I take out the baseball bat and beat the crap out of the snake, hoping that will make it turn into a rope. How effective is that? So, any questions about that? In the West, in Catholic monastic traditions, there's a sin called scrupulation. Isn't that a marvelous word?
It sounds very dirty.
When someone hasn't any scruples,
Mm,
they're not honest, they're not straightforward.
mhm.
Scrupulation is the sin where I'm convinced I'm the worst sinner there is. So these are people who every thought, oh, that's a sinful thought, I'll have to go confess that. Oh, I was 30 seconds late for prayer. I got to go confess that. They're thinking there's a way to be a perfectionist about their imperfections. Some of us are like that. Nobody is more sinful than I. This is false humility. These people take pride in their Humility, assumed humility. Is this making sense?
Yeah.
Now, what's the definition of humility? It's not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. It's about self-forgetting of the ego self. So anyway, poor Sigidvaja, he's all caught up in scrupulation. I'm going to do it perfectly. And then when I don't do it perfectly, I'm so sinful, I have to go take a sacred bath because I messed up the chant. All that kind of stuff. Going on.
Bhutam Rajyam Chiram Kalam Ishta Vipiva Bhumayam Aduna Sima Viragane Yukto Gacchami Kananam. The kingdom was enjoyed by me for a long time. Situations of wealth or power have been seen by me. I am now endowed with indifference to worldly attachments. I shall go to the forest.
So he thinks the way for me to find peace is to run away from the world. Unfortunately, that doesn't work. I may not have shared this with you folks in some time, but I think you've heard the story when I was in Mumbai in 1993 at the Chinmaya ashram, where you lived out of a rubber bucket. And up on the second floor, there was this one brahmachari. You bathed in the bucket, you washed your clothes in the bucket, you used the rubber bucket to clean your cell. And this guy was absolutely enraged because the boy next door had used his rubber bucket. He was totally renounced, had nothing. 3 kurtas, 3 dhotis, a metal bed, a metal desk, a metal chair, a dresser, cement floor, a little cell, and he lost it over a rubber bucket. I just thought it was the funniest thing in the world. So what's going to happen to Sikidvaja? He thinks leaving the world in and of itself is going to do it. This is not necessarily effective renunciation. Now, here's another take on this. Many of us have gone and taken, say, 10-day Vipassana retreats, and we get so still. Part of why we get still is the triggers of our lives are not there. You come home from the retreat and there's the issues with the house, there's the job, there's the relationship, there's the finances. Anybody ever had that experience?
Yep.
So it was only temporary. Now, I promise you, if you had joined the community where you were assisting full-time giving retreats, even if you sat, the time would come where there'd be some idiot in the community that was just like your spouse. Why? Because it's inside. If you have fear of financial insecurity on the outside, it would come up again in the monastic situation somehow. You can run, but you can't hide. So what yoga says, everything we need to practice viveka and vairagya right here right now, today, everything is perfect. I think you were saying this problematic boss at Meta,
Yeah.
and you thought you were getting this really cool supervisor when you went to GoFundMe.
Yeah.
And what did the Lord do?
Gave me a same manager for Meta.
Oh, God.
Just different name and face, right?
Gender.
Oh, God. Not fair.
It's perfect. It's perfect. But if you're woke enough, you see the perfection. It's not bad luck. It's karma. So Sikitvaja thinks he can run away from the world. At best, it will be temporary. Probably he's out there in the forest thinking about the kingdom, which is his real responsibility. That's his dharma. Well, he's there throwing flowers at a statue. Going on.
Raja te apyadikam apyadikam manye sukham vana nivasanam asimana saman sanam matrena taniva navintha krit maharishi bhavyataya palayan te yan yeha raje statha statavya uttame. I consider the happiness of forest dwellers as greater than even sovereignty. Delicate lady, in this right deliberation, pray do not cause an impediment. Excellent lady, you ought to remain here in the kingdom protecting it.
So here he dumps the responsibility onto her. So I've been talking with a student who currently lives in San Francisco, and he's thinking, he's semi-retired at this point, wants to really dedicate his time to sadhana. So he's thinking of moving to the Berkeley Hills, North Berkeley, because it's quiet and it's green and stuff like that. Maybe. But I live in the ghetto, literally. I'm in downtown Oakland. And how many people walk through this door? Oh, Jim, your home is so big. You know why? Because people like you have been tuning up and meditating in it for 30 years. You don't need to go anywhere. There's not more God in the Himalayas. They're beautiful. Right where you are is perfect. Now, there's nothing wrong with moving to Berkeley. It's lovely. But that's not the answer. Oh, I need to go to India. It's so spiritual there. Until you get E. coli.
You see how noisy it actually is.
Huh?
Or how noisy it actually is.
I'm sure I've told you this. So in 88, I was in Siddhabadi to study Vivekachudamani with Swamiji. And I was going to go out into the Himalayan forest and meditate like the rishis do. So I walked a ways away from the ashram. It was hilly, So I sat down. I couldn't find a place to get comfortable. There were, rocks under my butt. And then I'm sitting there trying to meditate, and these ants kept biting my foot. And I finally got a little quiet. Bah, bah. There were goats in the village, which was really close. And then okay, tune it out. Just honk, 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 as this car comes around the curve of the hill. And I just started to laugh and laugh and laugh. It was much quieter in my home in San Francisco than it was in the Himalayan mountains. Even going to a temple, at least in the West, people have a tendency to be quiet and reverent in church. Have you found that in churches in Europe?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not so in India. What's it like in India when you're at a temple?
It's crowded. There's hawkers outside and prayers and people talking, now mobile phone sounds,
Yeah.
Not a peaceful, quiet life.
loudspeaker playing really bad. I mean, supposedly chanting, but bad audio.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
It's very funny.
Yeah, like the best Shiva temple we went to had people standing in line and everybody was just pushing each other and shouting at each other. And then somebody from the back will say, Om Namah Shivaya, and then everybody will say Om Namah Shivaya. The next fight.
Well, and there's one of the cultural things I discovered, maybe different now. It's part of a European chivalry. It comes out of the French Romance literature of the Middle Ages.
Mm,
No, after you.
right.
The idea of noblesse oblige. Yeah.
Yeah.
You go first. Let me. What was his name? Was it Sir Walter Raleigh who threw his
Yeah.
coat down for Queen Elizabeth to
Yes.
walk on?
Right. Yeah.
But in India, the most important person is in the front of the damn line.
Right.
Get out of my way. Don't you know who I am? My family traces itself back to this rishi. I deserve to be first. And that's in the food line at the temple. I don't know. Do they still do that? You
Yeah.
find that in India?
VIPs and
Yeah, it's all very hierarchical and pushy.
mm-hmm.
Last time I was there, people were more polite, I have to say. All right, next verse.
Ityutva dayitam raja ratrayatro vinikratam pramate mandara shailasya tathastam kananam yayau tatrai kanismana samo deshosa chakarotajwalyam chakarotajalayam. Thus, having told his wife, the king departed at midnight. In due course, he went to a forest situated on the slope of the Mandara mountain. There, in an even place, he built an abode made of leaves or a hermitage.
So he built a little kutia, a hut, which these hermits, these ascetics do. They live in that. And there he does his penance, his rituals in the forest, going on.
Sarvam sampaditam tena yogayam tapasar tapas karmani sandhya ya purva japam prapta Prahare sa tadam karota Usha pocham pochayam ditiye tu stranam devacharna tatham pachatham vanya phalam kinchate bhuktva japya paro bhavata. Everything useful in the performance of religious penance was acquired by him. In the morning, in the eighth part of a day, he did japa, or the repetition of sacred words, preceded by sandhya, or the prescribed morning prayers. In the second eighth part of the day, he did the gathering of flowers for worship, then bathing and the worship of the deity. Thereafter, having eaten fruit growing in the forest a little, he became absorbed in japa, or the repetition of sacred words.
So he's doing practices, living a religious / spiritual life of a tapaswan, of a renunciate. And those of us who've read Tripura Rahasyam remember Dattatreya sends Parashurama off to worship the goddess with the prescribed rituals, which he does for 12 years until his mind has been scrubbed of its grossness. So for you, the tapas that you did during COVID and stuff like that made your mind purer. So it was efficacious, but that wasn't necessarily the bestower of wisdom. And what's the problem that we all run into? The world calls to us. Family, fortune, property, position, even community, Lokavasana. Many people go to ashrams. They don't want God, they want community. They think, I'll finally find the connection I've always been looking for because I feel isolated and alone. Always felt like I'm on the outside. This is a particularly Western issue. Indians don't seem to suffer from that as much because there's always a sense of enmeshment and connection with family.
Interesting.
Yeah. Sometimes it's, everybody's in everybody else's business in the family. But in the West, we feel, I'm alone in the midst of a crowd kind of feeling. All right, going on.
Pure prabhutya chudala patra tikhinnadi vatar nyatrane nigratya pitam prishtva naya vritrata. In the city, Chudala, left by her husband, having woken up and extremely dejected in mind, going out to the opening in the air, that is, traveling through air by her yogic powers, returned after seeing her husband.
So she checks up on him. She teleports, but she's in a subtle body, so he doesn't see her right away. She checks on him. Now we would FaceTime. Going on.
Astam mamata gamanam kole na चिरनेय हि मायस्य प्राच्रगन्तव्यम् इति निहृष्ट्य सा तदा केनिच्यते कारणेनास्यौ कथं सम्प्राप्ति भूपतिम् इति प्राज्यं समाश्रास्य भूतं राज्यं रक्षसः. Let my going today remain as it is. Only after a very long time I ought to go near him. Thus having resolved, she then ruled her husband's kingdom, having consoled the subjects with the words, "Due to some reason, the king has now gone out."
So she's checked on him. She sees he's got to do a lot of purification before I can be of any help. So she decides, let him do his tapas. Meanwhile, she's back in the palace. Very enlightened woman with great siddhis. And what's she doing? Running the country. The grunt work. All right, next one.
Chudalaya Kumbharupa Grahanam. The assumption of the form of Kumbha by Chudala.
Okay, this is a whole nother section. Do you want to quit early or go on? What do you want to do?
I'm happy to go on. It's really up to you.
Okay, let's do it.
What about you, Sound?
I'm okay too.
So kumbha means pot.
Hot.
Another word for pot,
Oh,
P-O-T. So she's going to change herself into a young Brahmin boy, and that's the name she's going to call herself. So how many scriptures have we heard that have talked about room space and pot space, or reflections of water, the moon in the pot or the jar? So all these scriptural references are all in the name that she chooses. Going on.
Ashtadasha cha vashrani Gatanyyevam tada yada Vatru pancham maya gantu Prapti kalyo ityathe Sanchitanya mandaram Vyoma gatva Tishtva pitam tadha. When 18 years thus elapsed, then, having thought, the time has arrived for me to go near my husband, she went to Mandra mountain through the sky, and having seen her husband, thought as follows.
So not 12 years like Parashurama. He's really slow. 18 years. Now they were old to start with. So she flies through the air, sees him from her drone. And this is what she decides to do.
Aho nu Vishmam mo Maukuyam Durdarsham Yata Prasadat Evam Vidya Samayanti Shakha Yatra Di No Api Hi Tatam Aveshyam Iha Tva Tatam Sambodhaya Mitam Tam Bolyam Mama kantate matutham nakari shayati tasmat tapa saveshena bodhayami patim shanata. Alas, what an odd folly it is, by the gift of which even those of such a kind who perceive the object of the scriptures indeed attain to this difficult state. Therefore, I shall teach him truth or reality here and now. He will not carry out my words thinking, "This is a young woman and my wife." So I shall teach my husband in a moment in the guise of an ascetic.
So, having heard the truth, he gets identified with the yogi, with the mumukshu, with the person on the path of being a goody. For 18 years, he still has not found peace. And she, understanding her husband very well, realizes he can't hear the truth from me. So I will, she becomes a transmogrifier. Isn't that what Kate, anyway, the character from Maggie Smith's character in
Harry Potter?
Oh,
Harry Potter.
Tonks?
So she would become a cat,
Right,
So-
right, yeah.
So she changes herself into a young, ascetic young man and a Brahmin. Choti with the thread, probably an orange dhoti, goes up to him. Now he sees, oh, this is someone I can respect. Same thing he's been doing. Not going to ask him any questions. I'm going to worship him. Let's see what happens.
Iti sanchinyata sa iti sanchintaya sa dvanatam dvijaputro bavu vaha shukla yagnopavitangha shuklam parayugavratam tatam agrastitham alokya raja vachanam bravita. Thus, having thought, she indeed became the son of a Brahmana by meditation. The king, seeing him standing in front, wearing the white sacred thread, the mark of a Brahmana, on his body, and covered all around by a pair of white cloths, told him these words.
So he shows up in a form, she shows up in a form that he will listen to. That's the literary device. Going on.
Devaputra Mahabhaga ko bhavane kuta agyatam divasam safalam manye yatha tvamatisimya hृष्टवान् iyutva pancha akhardi tatavantam cha sa vipravit. Son of Brahmana, blessed one, who are you? Where have you come from? I consider this day fruitful, since I have seen you today. To him who had offered the traditional honors like water for washing the feet and respectful offerings, after having spoken thus, she said as follows.
So he's a Brahmin. an ascetic. So what's he do? Wash the feet, give him a mala, not a mala, I want to say lay, a garland. Does all these things to greet him. Now let's see what happens. They begin the conversation.
Swafitam Rajam Samutrajya Kananam Sevyate Tvaya Shantena Manasa Sadho Kanchite Te Sambrittapaha. Virtuous one, having abandoned a large or prosperous kingdom, a forest is resorted to by you with a calm mind. I trust your penance is full or concentrated.
Yes, so the Brahmin says, you've left the kingdom, you're here in the forest doing penance. I hope it's been fruitful for you. And Chudala knows it isn't.
Oh no.
He's still jonesing for something. Because he has not let go of Jiva Bhavana, which is inherently, I'm not enough, there's not enough. He's just, rather than having Rolls Royces and palaces with heated swimming pools, he's now, I want to be pure, I want to be holy. I want the best ritual objects. I want a very fancy dhoti, so people will think I'm really lucky monk. Jiva Bhavana, Ahankriti is still there. He just went from a worldly ego to a spiritual ego or a religious ego, we could say. Any thoughts on this?
Makes sense.
Let's see what she says. And you and I have talked about this, if you want to hang out with the cool people, the realized ones,
Yeah,
who is it who wants that and what for?
right.
That's spiritual ego.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You see, has to go. That's enough. All right, going on.
Rajana me shrunu vratantam yatha prishtam tvaya tuna kadachittam naradam purva guhayam tvanamastitham akasmata leelaya nandha kridanta lalanaganam आलोकस कयस्ततदा तस्य सह सहसैव मनोमुने अनाक्षित विवेकं सत् बभूवानन्दितं स्फुरते. King, hear my history as inquired by you now. At some time formerly, sage Narada, seated in meditation in a cave, saw by chance a group of women sporting in the river playfully. Then, quite suddenly, the mind of the sage, not resorting or practicing discrimination which is proper, and palpitating within, became delighted.
Oh, he got turned on. They were wearing saris that were wet and sticking to their bosoms.
was palpitating.
Yes. Going on. No, let's quit there. We'll stop with the wet sorry. And we'll take it up the story next week. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om.